Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to learn lesson number 8. Name of the lesson: Fire, Friend, and Foe. Friend, you already know the meaning of friend. Foe is the synonymous word for enemy. So, fire is both actually useful and dangerous. Fire can be used as friend, and fire sometimes work as an enemy to us. So, fire is both useful and dangerous. What is fire? How did we discover it? How do we control it? So this chapter is all about these questions. Okay, so let us move. Early man didn't know what fire was, but he must have seen the damage it could cause. Early man, आदि मानव, उन लोगों को पता नहीं था कि फायर असल में है क्या, बट आग किस तरीके से बहुत ज़्यादा क्षति पहुंचा सकते हैं इसके बारे में उन लोगों को भाली भांति जानकारी था। जब उन लोगों को पता है कि फायर वाइल्ड फायर जब किसी जंगल में लग जाता था तो किस तरीके से जीव जानवर तथा पेड़ पौधा बर्बाद होता था, इसके बारे में उन लोगों को वाकई भी जानकारी था, परंतु ये नहीं पता था कि इस फायर किस तरीके से पैदा होता है या किस तरीके से इसको बनाया जा सकता है। He must have watched lightning and volcanoes long before he began to use fire himself. Fire was powerful and dangerous, and he was frightened. Here he, the word he represents the early man, आदि मानव। वॉल्केनो से जो आग निकलता है लावा के फॉर्मेशन में, तथा जब बिजली चमकते हैं तो उसका प्रभाव दुष्प्रभाव वे लोग अच्छे तरीके से जानते थे और ये समझ जाते थे कि आग कितना पावरफुल एंड डेंजरस है। एंड ही वॉज फ्राइटेन, दैट्स वाई दे गॉट अफ्रेड ऑफ फायर. Fire may have puzzled early man, but we now know that fire is the result of a chemical reaction. Maybe the early man didn't know about the cause of fire, but now we all know what actually fire is and how it can be produced. When the oxygen in the air combines with carbon and hydrogen in a fuel, a chemical reaction takes place. How fire is produced? Fire is produced in the presence of oxygen, which can be found in air, and when that oxygen combines with hydrogen and carbon in a fuel, then certain chemical changes occur, and that produces fire. That energy in the form of heat and light is released in this process. Energy is released when fire is burnt, or if something is burning, then you can realize that some heat and light is coming out of it. This is what we call fire. Three things are needed to make fire: fuel, oxygen, and heat. These three things are very much essential to uh, start any kind of fire. What are those three things? Fuel, oxygen, and heat. Wood, coal, cooking gas, and petrol are some examples of fuel. Wood, coal, cooking gas, they all can be burned, so they are examples of some fuel. Oxygen comes from the air. That is why when we blow on the smoldering paper, it often bursts into flame. Because when we actually blow on the soldering paper or on some coal or some flames, it uh, starts to burst into flame. Why? Because when we are blowing, we are actually supplying more oxygen to it. The third thing needed to make fire is heat. And the third most important thing which is needed to start fire or make fire, that is heat. Without producing any heat, it is very hard actually to produce fire. Fuel and oxygen do not make fire by themselves, or else a newspaper or a stick lying in the open would catch fire on its own. So if really heat is not if heat was not necessary for starting or making fire, then everything which is kept or left open, for example wood, log, paper, which can be burnt, dry grass, everything, they would automatically start producing fire. But it doesn't happen because a certain amount of heat is required to start fire. To burn a piece of paper or wood, to burn a piece of paper or wood, we heat it before it catches fire. We generally do it with a lighted match. How do we put on a fire on a log or a paper? We first light up the matchsticks, or through a lighter we just heat the paper or the log up, and then after a certain time the paper or the log starts getting fire. Every fuel has a particular temperature at which it begins to burn. This temperature is called the flash point or kindling temperature of fuel. So for example, HP, yeah, liquid petroleum gas, diesel, petroleum, they are highly flammable. Why highly flammable? Because they can start fire in room temperature. So they need very low temperature to produce or to start or to catch fire. Whereas the log of wood or or paper or something else, they also have different certain temperature at the point which it starts burning, and that particular temperature is called flash point or kindling temperature. It is sometimes said that fire is a good servant but a bad master. It is sometimes says, and that is very true, that fire is a good servant. Means when fire is in our control, we can do anything with the fire. The hard and hardest or tough tasks can be also done by controlling the fire in a certain way. But when fire gets out of control, then it becomes the master, and then fire turns into a bad master. Because as you can see, in many cities, many slum areas or many crowded areas, when it caught fire, then it is really very hard for the fire brigade, the brigade teams, to control that fire. That's why it is called bad master. It only means that fire is very useful as long as it is kept under control. Fire can be used in a best way when it is controlled. For instance, we used to cook our food, warm our homes in winter, and to generate electricity. But on the other hand, if fire gets out of control, it can be very dangerous. I already explained it. When it is in control, under control, then it's very good and fine and works as a friend, as a helper or assistant. But when it gets out of control, what happens? Each year, thousands of homes and shops are damaged by fire. Vast areas of forests are also destroyed, and hundreds of pupils are killed or injured. When it takes the control over itself, means when the fire turns into a master, then it destroys a lot of property, money, property, animals, and even the plants. Just as three things are needed to start a fire, there are three main ways in which a fire can be put out. In each one of these three needed for burning is taken away. As earlier we have explained that three things are most essential to start a fire. What are those three things? Temperature, fuel, and oxygen. So like this way, there are three essential ways we can put out a fire. We can stop fire. How? Just say if we take out the oxygen from a burning particle, then automatically the fire will put out. If we will reduce the heat of the burning particle, then fire will also start put down. And if we remove the fuel or take away the fuel, or if we will stop supplying the fuel, the fire will also stop. So there are three ways, and in three ways what we actually do, we just take out one essential thing at a time from the fire. For example, we can take away the fuel. If the fire has no fuel, no feed on, no burning can take place. I already told, if fire is taken out from a burning particle, if we will not add more fuel to it, it will stop. We often let a fire die out simply by not adding more to it. We can, for example, in village areas, people used to cook in outside with with the firewoods. But when their cooking is over, they don't add much more logs or woods, firewood to the oven. So what happens, after a certain time the fire starts putting out. The second way of putting out a fire is to prevent oxygen from reaching it. And what is the second option? Second option is to put the fire is to prevent oxygen from reaching it. If we somehow stop reaching oxygen to that fuel or to that fire, it will also stop. No supply of oxygen means no fire. Small fires can be put out or smoothed with a damp blanket or a sack. For example, if a small fire is there, we can put dump a sack or kambal like things over it. Then what it would do, it would cover the nearby area to that burning things and cut the supply of oxygen, and it will put out. This stop oxygen reaching the burning material. Sometimes carbon dioxide is used to extinguish fire. How? Why? For extinguish gas cylinders, which is used in lot of public areas and safety, for uh, safety measures. Then a certain kind of gas is released out of it. What those kind of that gas actually works? It surrounds the burning things and cut out the supply of oxygen. That's why it stop. It doesn't allow oxygen to reach the burning material. The third way of putting a fire is to remove the heat. Third, if we reduce the heat of that burning things, it will stop burning. If the temperature can be brought down below the flash point, the fuel stops burning. You blow on a burning matchstick or a candle to put it out. For example, after putting on the matchstick, if you blow the matchstick, it will stop. It will stop burning. Why it happens? Because when you are actually blowing on the matchstick, you are a certain cool breeze is coming out of your mouth, and that reduces the temperature of that burning stick, and that's why it finally puts out. In doing so, we remove the hot air around the flame, bringing down its temperature below the flash point, and candle goes out. Sometimes water is sprayed on a fire. It absorbs heat from the burning fuel and lower the temperature. In small fires, we just pour on water, and we can see that fire stops burning. Why? Because when we are pouring the water on a burning thing, basically the wood, paper and all those things, like so, not on electric circuit obviously. So what will happen? Because the temperature will drop down, and it will come to below the flash point, and finally the fire puts out. The blanket of water also cuts off the of supply of oxygen, and fire is extinguished. Okay. Finally, some fires cannot be put out with water. If water is sprayed onto oil fire, the oil will float to the top of the water and continue to burn. As you know, water oil can float on water. So if somewhere oil is burning, and if you will pour more water on it, what will happen? The oil will come to the upper surface of the water, and it will continue burning. And another dangerous thing can happen, that the water moves uh, downwards. So when the water moves, it carries the oil, burning oil on it, and it may spread the fire also. This can very dangerous because water can flow quickly, carrying the burning oil with it and spreading the fire. Water should not be used on fire caused by electrical appliances. If some electrical appliances got fire, catches fire, then you should not spray the water or pour the water over it, because the person spraying the water might receive an electric shock and be killed. A carbon dioxide extinguisher is the best thing to fight an electrical fire. Hopefully you have understood this part of the lesson. What you have to do, you just listen to the video again and then read the whole story. I'll prefer the whole story, because it will help you to understand the whole thing once again very properly. Next day I'll explain the next part. Thank you.